Live from Studio B, two guys whose business cards simply say, I'll call you. It's The Bottom Line with your host DJ and KJ, asking tough questions, getting real answers, and sorting through it all to get to the bottom line.
Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, back in Studio B after a 1-week hiatus. Here with The Bottom Line. Ken, I tell you what, this internet can be a tricky thing week to week, can't it?
Man, it can be a tricky thing. It's been a tricky thing all week at work and last week too. I mean, I don't know what happened. We couldn't get a hold of stream at all last Wednesday night. I know that probably doesn't sound real good, but we couldn't get it to stream out. We could download, but we couldn't upstream at all. So you got to be able to upstream if you're going to have streaming media. How about that?
About 8:30, we decided to punt.
We had to call it. Yeah, I mean, we didn't have any choice. So, but it looks like it's holding pretty good tonight. So, hopefully we won't have any of those technical difficulties. I'm hoping for.
Going to be a good program tonight. Going to have Stephen Dickey, the CEO of the YMCA, and of course the most recent recipient of the Citizen of the Year, named by the Chamber here. He's going to be on with us a little bit later, so looking forward to visiting with him.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, great guy. I've never seen as many children run up to a man and hug that a man like they do Stephen Dickey, for sure. I know my daughter did.
And he hugs them all back.
He hugs every one of them.
Every one.
He'd probably make a great politician.
Well, hey, I think this is again, right? Is that correct? Looking around town.
Speaking of, speaking of that, man, things are things are getting a little the race is getting a little heated up right now, aren't they?
Tell you what, you go through town, you see the signs coming out. It's going to be a hot summer. So, where Carrie Brown announced her candidacy for District 1 on the city council. So Pat Poole, the incumbent, we're assuming he's going to run again, and Carrie's throwing her name in the hat. And of course, in the paper today, Frank Nolte officially putting his name out there as well. And of course, Yank Lovelace, the incumbent there at mayor. So that'll be another good race as it was 4 years ago. But yeah, it's
I think Feast Broughton,
John Angel. We pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Pat Hendrith and Joe Watson there in District 4.
Was that 4?
District 4. And then I
don't think Councilman Fred Barton. I don't think he has any. I hadn't heard anybody come out yet against Councilman Barton. So I'm not. I haven't seen any signs around at all.
How about the Blueberry Festival?
Another successful Blueberry Festival.
Well, Fred Barton kind of triggered that. Another successful event put on by the Chamber of Commerce had a few parking issues.
They did, but they did put on another great event, and looked like I think Friday evening, somewhere around 5 or 6, 7 o'clock. I think things were looking a little grim down there with that bad weather that blew through. It was rough looking.
Hal used different words.
Well, yeah, it could have been a lot worse than what it was, but I think things got out of control there pretty quickly. I think some tents got blown around and uprooted, and I don't think that I know they all got arrested by the local police department. Showed up down there, and one of the vendors in all of the chamber haste to try to save some of the vendors. I guess items. They packed a lot of that stuff up that was out there, just kind of threw it in some vehicles, and one of the vendors showed back up down there and thought somebody robbed them.
Looting.
Yeah.
Downtown Brooklyn. Looting. Jennings Park.
And so so they the police came and found out it wasn't a looting situation at all. It was more of a saving situation. And they even had a cash register out there, DJ, that was full of money that they had left out there as well.
Wow.
So, yeah. I said, wow. Lord, they were some trusting folks right there. But Mother Nature came through and decided they wanted to play with that a little bit, and they did. So, but they got it all together, and I think the next day they had a big time, and it looked like they had a lot of vendors there this year, and I think they did. And I know that I think the tiny house was a big hit. Down there, from what I understand. Listen,
it had air conditioning.
That's what I was about to say. Anything that had air conditioning in it was a big hit, and I don't think anybody can deny that at all.
It was a neat little housing option, though. I mean, I went in it and looked at it. It's a pretty cool little deal.
It really was. You see, there's a show on TV. I don't know what channel it comes on. Big Living in Tiny Houses or something like that, and a lot of people are giving up these, their homes and selling out, and they're buying these type of homes and living in them. And of course, I guess if you were, no kids and, you didn't want to have to clean up a big house and that kind of thing, it'd be kind of easy to look at that as a viable option, especially, that one was nice.
Very nice.
So I definitely think that, I think you're going to see more of that as I don't know if that's a fad. It may be a fad right now, but I think more and more people are going to start looking at that.
I want to go back just for a minute, and on this show, the last several weeks, the times we've been on, we've talked about the chamber and how important they are to our community and what they've done and their events. Just that they seem to outdo themselves with each and every one. I can't imagine what they're going to do for the rodeo next year. I think that'll be their next scheduled event anyway. But I think there's one thing very important here to understand is these people don't get paid to serve on this board. They have full-time jobs. They have families. They were out in the middle of the night with the bad weather trying to get that thing back together, ready to go the next morning. And I just don't think that you can pat them on the back enough or compliment them enough for these events they pull off, because it promotes our town in such a that it's ever been promoted in before. We've had great chambers for a long time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But this group of people, no pun intended, is almost a perfect storm in terms of the energy they have, the vision they have, the resources that are able to pull together. They just do an outstanding job for all of us. And I can't thank them enough personally. Every time I've seen one of them, I've tried to reach out and thank them for it. But they just they pulled off another great event for the city of Brewton last weekend.
They really did. We were told that by 1:30 they were out of blueberry everything as far as ice cream, and the crunch I think is always a big hit. And I believe they sold out all those T-shirts that we all. Yeah. We were buying those things out on Thursday.
Yeah.
We were gathering up people's orders. What a great looking T-shirt this year. And I'm not saying the others were bad. I'm just saying this year that particular design I thought was just fantastic. And you're right, DJ. The chamber, the board, the members that go down and put their time and effort and resources into doing what they do. It's a very thankless job. If you think about it, they're all volunteers. They don't get paid anything.
They do it because they love Brewton.
They do it because they love Brewton. And, listen, and they don't just do it. They do a great job of it. I've yet to see a chamber event that has went, that you can't say that wasn't a success in the last, since I can remember, they've kick it at the creek. I think they said that they sold out of over 600 flats of crawfish.
Wow.
That's pretty strong.
That's a lot of crawfish.
That's a lot of crawfish.
I
don't know how many Josh and them sell up at David's on when they have the Thursday night thing. Josh, if you happen to be out there, listen, why don't you text us and tell us, because I'd love to know how many pounds you guys go through up there. But I know this, they go through a lot of David's catfish up there as well, because when you got people standing out the door of an eating establishment in Brewton, Alabama, to wait to get in to eat, the only other time I've ever seen that happen is when the Ritz Theater was downtown and people had to stand outside because it wasn't open. And I haven't seen that many other times. I did see when Garth Brooks came to town for the second Harvest Jam, there were 7 people in line at the old Kmart to see him. And I'll never forget Josh Brown reaching up there and tipping his cowboy hat off his head and making fun of him, asking him who he was. And I think about 4 or 5 weeks later, Friends in Low Places come out, and we reminded Josh about that at school many times. That's who that was.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
There was, speaking of the Harvest Jam, the first Harvest Jam was a huge success in town. I don't think anybody really knows the true number of how many people were at that event. I know it was a bunch. I saw an aerial photo that Paul Moore had blown up of that thing. But the second one, there were a ton of big names at that event, and nobody showed up. Nobody.
You wonder why?
I don't know why. I mean, but the thing was, they weren't big names at the time.
Yeah.
They were big names 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So who knows why that is? It could have been something to do with alcohol too. The second go around, I don't think I think something happened, and I don't know if they could serve alcohol at that or have alcohol there the second go around. So not real sure about all that, but I do know that again the chamber put on a great event, and looking forward to the next big event, which would be the rodeo. Last year's rodeo was a huge success.
I made it in for that. Came in from out of town. The weather was perfect. The crowd blew me away. When we pulled down going into O'Bannon, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. And of course, as soon as we got around that final curve and you could see the number of vehicles, the number of people, I was like, wow.
Yeah, and I've learned a little bit about the rodeo over the last couple of years, because I remember growing up here in town, and of course the Riddleville rodeos and the Horton rodeos over the Horton Swamp, as they call it.
You probably went to the Auburn rodeo a time or two in your college years. Alpha Psi rodeo.
But I don't remember. I don't know
if you want to call it that.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, again, college years, I don't remember much about those.
Right.
But I don't remember, how that worked. And I'm just amazed at all of the events that go on at the rodeo. And not only that, but outside of the events, just how they keep all that stuff going and how many people showed up to participate. I'm talking about people in the rodeo itself. I mean, that's a big time. That's a big deal here, now. Sure. And maybe it was a big deal back then, but just too young to realize it. But I'm telling you, it's a big deal. And people, I mean, I know for both Friday and Saturday night, I think it was close to 3,000 people showed up at O'Bannon to see that event. And that was that's huge. But again, I think that's the next big event for the chamber coming up. If it's not, somebody can text us and let us know. But again, congratulations to the chamber and the board and everybody that worked hard to make that thing come together, because it was another one down and another one to chalk up to another great event.
I'll tell you, the key to their success, I really believe this, is their the planning they do and how far out they get things going. I was talking to Hal Monday after the Blueberry Festival, and Clay Lisenby had already sent out an email wanting everybody to, while it was still fresh in everybody's mind, to send in suggestions that the way things could have gone better, what went well, kind of a lessons learned type format, if you will, on the email, just try to go ahead and get it captured and get it ready to go next year. But they do an unbelievable job of getting together, planning, understanding some of the variables that may come into place, how they're going to troubleshoot that when it happens, and they're just to be commended for everything they do.
Well, they got good processes, and when you have committees like they do, and you got good processes in place, I think that's we could all learn from the way they plan. I can assure you.
And I don't want to get down this slippery slope too far, but for anybody who's listening in and may not know, legally speaking, there were no parking issues at the Blueberry Festival.
That's correct. None whatsoever. So, no parking tickets to be handed out.
We'll see how it goes next year.
Yeah. So, seemed to be a hot topic last week for sure. Got to be a hot topic on social media. And again, we talk about social media, but I saw a lot of people that were streaming live from the Blueberry Festival downtown.
How much lemonade did they say got sold? Not lemonade, sweet tea. Sweet tea. I mean, it was a crazy number.
It was a bunch.
Like $10,000.
Like over $10,000 worth.
$10,000 worth of sweet tea sold at Jennings Park 2 Saturdays ago.
Where did we go wrong?
Wow.
I mean, what happened?
That's a lot of sweet
tea.
$10,000.
I mean, man.
About 6 hours.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. As the chamber board has pointed out, any date they pick for the Blueberry Festival is automatically going to be the hottest day of the year. So that always helps to sell that sweet tea. ice and cold and all that go together, and that helps every time. I think a lot of people probably stood in those tiny houses and those campers over there in that air conditioner drinking that sweet tea. I wonder if we could get Nelly and Winston and them maybe to set up a cool zone mister inside one of those those tiny houses. I don't know if I'd go.
I don't know how much help Nelson would be, but yeah, Johnny Grady and Winston. There you go. Still here at the bottom line, waiting on Stephen Dickey. He's going to call in here very shortly. This could be him calling in now, and the CEO of the YMCA. Looking forward to visiting with him for a few minutes. Going to pick his brain on a few things going on and around the YMCA. So, is that him? Is that the guy? Is that the coach?
Yes, it is. Let's see if we can't get Stephen in here. Stephen.
Hello. Hey.
Coach Dickey, thanks for joining us tonight.
DJ, it's my pleasure, buddy. Appreciate you inviting me to come on.
Tell you, we were just singing the praises of the Chamber of Commerce and the Blueberry Festival they pulled off a couple of weeks ago, and the many great events they've done throughout the year here in Bruton to promote our community, whether it's the rodeo or kicking at the creek, and of course, most recently the Blueberry Festival. I think it's also important to recognize they named you as our Citizen of the Year, and I'm telling you, as a friend and as a co-worker, as somebody who looks up to you, couldn't have made a better choice than Stephen Dickey for our Citizen of the Year. Congratulations on that.
Congratulations on that, Stephen. Well deserved.
Well, thank you both. I don't know if it's deserved or not, but I'm certainly humbled by it, and I appreciate those kind words.
Did you get a chance to make it down to the Blueberry Festival, or were you in town that weekend?
Well, I coach, the older boys, the advanced Babe Ruth boys, and so we were over in Covington County playing that weekend, and I was not able to attend, unfortunately.
Well, I got a great idea for us at the concession stand next year. Sweet tea.
All right.
They sold $10,000 worth of sweet tea in 8 hours at the Blueberry Festival.
$10,000 plus. Yes, plus.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the Y needs to start churning up some sweet tea down there, and I believe you could make a killing off of it.
Well, we've got Anita Marie down there. She can make some up. I can tell you that.
That would go great with your nachos. I've watched you, Coach. You usually get you a helping of nachos a night, don't you?
They're pretty good. Hard to beat nachos at the ballpark.
Coach, wanted to bring you in tonight and spend a few minutes just talking about the YMCA in general and what it means to our community, talking about recreation and some of the things that have changed and during your time of being involved in it. I've been in it a long time myself, and some of those things that we've noticed in terms of the culture at the ballpark, youth sports in general. And we thought it might be a neat time, since it is an election year and we have so many candidates that are running for the different offices, to thank those that are sitting now and encourage those who might be there in the future to continue to support recreation. Our town has always done a phenomenal job in terms of putting some resources towards those activities that our young people are able to partake in and get some learn some good values and instill some good values in them. And I know I speak for you how appreciative we are of our city leaders that have done so much to help make those opportunities available.
There's no doubt about that. This community is unique, and as many people know, and this is the fourth Y I've been associated with, and this Y is by far the best Y I've been part of. Not that those other Ys weren't good and they're all right, but this one is truly what a community YMCA should be about. And we're so appreciative at the Y that we have such good partners here in the city. Of course, with the city of Bruton, with our youth sports program, and even the school system, sharing some of the services out there. There's no need in a small town like ours to duplicate services, and I think everybody has the right mindset in that regard. And the Y has some great resources and athletic fields and gymnasiums and things of that nature, and there's no reason to go out and necessarily build those when we have those at our reach right now to go and use. And again, we're fortunate that the city leaders understand that, and we partnered together to offer up recreation services. And you and I both have seen in other areas, and we're certainly not knocking other areas, but we know that we've got a pretty good thing here, and I know it again from my experience at other places that we do pretty good with the service in providing the services again with the help of with the city.
Well, I tell you, it's very easy to take it for granted when you don't know what else is out there, especially in towns the size of Bruton. And I may notice things in other places that the more casual fan may not know, and you kind of just hit the nail on the head there with what we do have. We've got a gym. I'm just telling you that I'm speaking of the sports park at the moment. It was built in 1997. I think you'd be hard pressed to go down there and bring anybody in for the first time and convince them that it's 20 years old. I mean, you and Keith Miller and the different people that have been down there over the years have just done an incredible job making sure that it stays looking nice, looking modern, whether it's with repainting, resodding, refencing, whatever it is. And we've had a lot of partners that have helped us with that. I know Daryl Consler at Grady was very good to us. Frank Nolte in the Conservation Society with Raymond Wiggins has been good to us, and many other partners. And you kind of talked about that also, the importance of having those partnerships and understanding where their resources are. And if we can all get on the same page and move in the right direction, you can get a lot of bang for your buck. And we've certainly done that down with that facility and other projects in town. And it's just a nice place to have. When you talk about a town of 6,000 or 7,000 people, whatever the official number is, you just don't see that everywhere. Lighted batting cages, covered batting cages, covered dugouts, you name it, air-conditioned bathrooms, which is unbelievable, by the way. It's just a first-class facility.
Well, again, like you said, DJ, we're truly blessed. There's been a lot of people that have gone before us to make this happen, and we're just trying to prolong that facility and make it last as long as it possibly can. And I don't see any reason why it can't give us another 20 years plus down there if we just stay on top of things and be progressive. The batting cages was one of our biggest things that we've done, in the last few years. Covering those, providing shade, making it a little bit cooler down there in the hot weather months. Also providing shelter when it's raining. And teams if they can't get on the field, they can at least go in the cages and hit. And we have electricity in there if we need to put pitching machines. And it's carpeted with hitting surfaces, good L screens, and we update the nets every couple of years. We recarpeted one of the batting cages this year. All those things just sometimes you just take it for granted, but it just doesn't happen without a lot of good people behind the scenes making it happen.
Coach, I also thought it was appropriate to bring you on this week. We're kind of winding up the all-star seasons here with baseball and softball, and of course a lot of our teams did very well. They all went off and competed very hard from 8 up through the Babe Ruth programs. The East Bruton girls, actually, the 12-year-old girls won the state tournament. They're headed now to the Southwestern Regionals somewhere in Arkansas, and I know that we all going to wish them a safe travel and hope they play well. Very competitive. Proud of them for that accomplishment. But it was a great season, a great spring season for all of us. Of course, we'll have a little bit of a lull, then we'll have soccer and football coming back in the fall. But if you will, talk just a little bit about what recreation has meant to you in not only your childhood, but in your adult life. You've been around it now, I guess, for 25, 30 years on the YMCA side of it. Talk about what recreation does for young people and what the YMCA in general does for young people, the principles it instills, the values they stand by. Talk a little bit about that, if you will.
Well, I'll be glad to. And, going back to my childhood, I actually grew up at a Boys and Girls Club in Jackson, Mississippi. Going there, I remember my father taking me there I played basketball and to swim at that Boys and Girls Club right there on Capitol Street. I know exactly where it is and have very fond memories of that. And my father, of course, died at an early age. I was 15 years old, and sports just played a big role in shaping me. It's what I fell back on and helped me to have a relationship with guys that I still have great contact with today. Helped me to have a good work ethic, also to know to what the value is of having good teammates and being a good teammate as well. Sometimes things don't go your way, and you and I talk about this all the time, that, what better place for young kids to fail than at a ballpark. And when we say fail, we're not talking about they've had a terrible injury or anything. It's just perhaps they didn't win that game. They didn't get that big hit. Maybe they made an error at an inopportune time. Those things, sometimes we learn from tough spots in our life more so than all the accomplishments that we may have. And that's one of the things I love seeing down there. These kids, we see them grow from an 8-year-old up to and now you got, big, the Witten boys and Hunter Britton and Russell Smith, Stokes Jennings, these guys that have grown up in the program, see them developing the fine young men. It just says a lot of what sports means. And sports, you and I both know, is not the end all for everyone. But for those that do want to try it, recreational sports is just it's just a great avenue for them to learn so many valuable life lessons. And I've seen over the years, the parents, sometimes it's tough for the parents to see their kids fail, but again, they're going to be loved. They're going to get a nice meal when they get home, and if that's the worst thing that can happen to them in their life, they're still going to be very successful.
Kind of staying on that same line of thinking, and thankfully in our area, we haven't had any major events, that's starting to get you on CNN like you see in some communities, whether it's Pee Wee football games, basketball games, baseball, whatever it is, and it's kind of a culture change in society in terms of behavior that is accepted, or behavior that takes place at these rec fields, and it is kind of getting out there a little bit. Like I said, we haven't had any severe problems, but I want to go back to those lessons you talk about. I think everybody agrees that one of the great benefits from recreational sports, team sports, what have you, are the life lessons that you can get out of it. I think the flip side of that is, as nobody said that the life lessons were always warm and fuzzy. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes there's adversity. And I kind of like what you said, and I agree with it. I'm not so sure that some of the best learning doesn't take place in those tough times. I think that's when it has maybe a greater tendency to stick, so to speak.
You're absolutely right. And, even, in the good book, James talks about the considered pure joy, even in the trials that we face, because those, God puts those things in front of us to make us stronger. If we don't ever walk through the fire, so to speak, we're not going to be tuned to what the world is going to be out, because you and I both know how tough the world is out there. And, we go through those trials and tribulations. And again, what better way to learn some valuable life lessons than on the sports field, where, again, they're going to be walking through the gates with their parents, hugging them, and grandparents, and again, grabbing a hot dog and a Coke on the way out. That's okay in my book. And, again, life is hard, and sports are fun.
Well said, Coach. And I want to kind of stay there just for a minute and talk about some of the other things that recreation does and youth sports. And I'm going to use my daughter as a perfect example. I've shared this with you a couple of times. I got my daughter interested in playing softball last year. I had to twist her arm to get her out there. She didn't have a whole lot of interest in wanting to do it. And I did it more for the social reasons, to get her kind of off her mother's hip or off my hip, so to speak, get her out there, let her mix it up, let her get knocked down a little bit, let her fail, as you just mentioned, and let her see that's okay. And I can't tell you what that first year of softball did for her. Mark Walt was her coach. And he was very patient with her. She had never really played, hadn't been exposed to it a whole lot. I'd never gotten in the yard and thrown it with her. I just wanted her to get out there and be with a lot of different personality types and let her realize that she could make it. And she blossomed the next year. She wasn't very good in softball, and that's okay. But she ended up having one of the lead roles in the school play as the narrator. And I can just tell you, as her dad, prior to her being involved in that youth sport, she would not have had the confidence to do that. In front of the student body there at the elementary school. So the youth sports can offer a lot of good lessons and build character in a lot of different ways, not necessarily just athletics. I mean, very few, if any of these kids are going to get past the collegiate level in terms of their respective sports. There are a lot of good things you can take away from it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I remember Lindsay coming out, and again, like you said, you having to kind of pull her leg. She didn't really want to do it, and then she did it. She loved it. She wanted you to go out and practice with her in the yard, and she had never done that before. And and you say that she's not very good. I think for someone who's only played a couple of years to make the All-Star team this year, I think she's certainly found her way, so to speak, and I think that she enjoys it, and I think she's a good teammate. And I'll tell you another little story that you and I talked about before. Your little niece, Jennings Ruzick, I remember when Jennings soccer one year, Will was coaching your brother-in-law, and Will would not. She would not leave Will's side. She would not go on the field without Will, and now Jennings, you know her very well.
Oh yeah.
She's just a ball of dynamite, and you can't get her to stop talking sometimes, and she's just bouncing off, and you can't keep her off of an athletic field, no matter what it is: basketball, soccer, flag football, softball, whatever it is, and she's very well-rounded, just like you talk about, a leader in her school, and just so many good things can happen from just participation. Sometimes you learn so much more.
I mentioned Mark Walton earlier, and of course in all these programs, and you've done your share of it. I have as well. The volunteers also, sometimes they find themselves in some pretty tough spots. They're not paid. They go out there, they have full-time jobs for the most part. They have families, but they go out there and they turn the lights on and they ruin every pair of white socks they have. And that's not an easy task. And of course, we've been blessed there at the YMCA to have a good stand of volunteers down through the years. But I can't think of a season, whether it's soccer, football, basketball, baseball, that we're still not trying to find somebody to toe that line the day before the season starts or the day before practice starts. So there's not a whole lot of people that are raising their hand to go out there and do it. And the ones that do sometimes kind of get the tough end of the stick when it comes down to, the day-to-day operations of the game or playing time or whatnot. It's not an easy task to take on. And if you've never done it, it's really hard to appreciate the commitment it takes.
It really is. And you and I have spoken on this a little bit as well, that volunteerism, the way you and I grew up and seeing other fathers or just community leaders taking part, it's almost a dying thing. When I say dying, we still have people to step up, and we have some very, very good volunteers, not just in our athletic programs, but in our fitness programs and our boards and things of that nature. But you're right. It takes a special person to step up and work with young people, and again, the time that's devoted, and I'm gonna toot your horn a little bit for somebody who continues to coach Babe Ruth before Stokes was playing and still coaching today. It says a lot. It says a lot for what you're wanting to do and make a difference in people's lives, and that's what it's all about.
Well, I tell you what, I've really enjoyed it. I've been in Babe Ruth for a long time, and I have friendships and relationships that I probably would not have had otherwise had it not been for Summer League Baseball and the young men I've been able to come in contact with over the years. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been a big part of my adult life, and it was actually inspired by another volunteer, Paul Best. There's a lot of people that'll watch this program at some point that were influenced the same way. He was a volunteer, didn't even have a son, had 2 daughters, but he coached football, basketball, and baseball, and he was the best. No pun intended, but Paul Best had that kind of impact on me, and if that's been passed along to 1 or 2 others down through the years, that would be great. But volunteers is what makes that wheel go round, and without them, you have a lot of equipment and team uniforms, but you certainly don't have a program.
I tell you, we just had a text in that said, the Y is also a great place to grow leaders in our community. This texter said, I and numerous others in the area started at our Y as kids in the programs at the Y, moved to counselors at the Y, and now are, area leaders and teachers and things in the area and with kids back in the programs at the Y.
Absolutely. Coach, you want to expand on that a little bit?
I do, and I appreciate Ken bringing that up in that text. Whoever sent that in, appreciate that. We're one of the first employers for a lot of young people here in town, whether it be a lifeguard or a counselor or nursery worker or whatever the case may be. We're one of the first places, and that's one of the things we want to talk to them about. Is about being, giving back to your community and, being there on time. Just little things that we take for granted as adults that things that were instilled in us, by our folks, or other people. But being on time, being responsible, looking neat and not kept, not unkept. And, we have some good people, and there's some times that we have to have those little heart to hearts with them, but that's okay. That's okay. We want them to grow from that just as we grow from it. We want to, again, just guide them and teach them the way that it's supposed to be done. And, we're just fortunate that we have the opportunity to be able to do so many things like that. Again, helping young people grow, again, not just in the athletic realm, but to grow and to find young community leaders that are one day going to hopefully coach a team at the Y or somewhere else.
Coach, I got a very important question for you as well. What was the temperature of the pool today?
Don't ask me that. No, we have DJ. You know that's one of my big things. And when we finally got that new pool heater on there, that just about saved me from a lot of heartache. And we're glad that it's up and running and been going good for about 8 or 9 months now. Knock on wood, and had very few folks in my office complaining about the pool temperature.
Let me tell you something, Coach. 99.9% of the population have no idea what we're talking about, but I'm going to tell Ken here tonight and anybody else that's listening in, if you want to know what the pool temperature was on a Tuesday in May in the year 2013, he's got it.
He can tell you.
He documents it about 6 times a day, every day, because we had a lemon for a heater. And when some of our experienced members were in the pool, if it wasn't 77, if it was 76, this guy knew about it.
The complaint department went straight to him on the temperature of the pool.
He heard it every day, all day. I would have never believed it had I not been there and witnessed it firsthand. But he has pool temperatures from dated back for years.
So even that much more a reason to be Citizen of the Year. I mean, if you can keep up with that, Stephen, I'd take my hat off to you now.
And I don't know about that, but I finally learned that when I came in the morning to check the pool, I checked the temperature, and I would see that if it was below what the say standard was, it was better for me to go down there and face the music with them as opposed to waiting for them to come up in my office. So I would go down there. At least down there, I could walk away because they were in the pool. They would still go in, and I could at least walk away, whereas if they came off, I might not be able to walk away.
I'll tell you what, it's we're 40 minutes into this thing and we hadn't took a break.
We're going to let Coach go. He's got to watch Coastal Carolina of Arizona. Coach, I appreciate you taking time with us.
DJ, Ken, appreciate you guys having me.
Stephen, thank you again, man. And my daughter says hello and she misses you, and she thinks I'm way cooler now that I'm sitting here talking to you. So thank you.
No problem. My pleasure.
back in Studio B. How awesome was Stephen Dickey?
Man, that was what a great guy.
The YMCA, I mean, as an entity, what it does for our community, it's hard to imagine it not being here.
Oh,
and of course, it wasn't when we were kids. I mean,
I was going to say
after we left. But,
we had wheels and thrills.
Yeah.
We had the bowling alley.
Arcades.
That's right.
Over by Jalisco, somewhere, there was a little walkway.
There was an alleyway there. Over by Revco.
Yeah.
Revco.
Yeah.
I remember you could walk in there at 8 years old, buy a can of Hulkin.
And then you could go walk in that arcade and get your tail kicked real quick.
That's right.
If you wanted to get in a fight, go in that arcade.
Yeah.
It was going to go down.
If you stood in line to play that, if you stood in line to play that Journey arcade game, that was a nickel. It was the cheapest one in the place. I don't know why it was a nickel. Everything else was like 50 cents or a quarter or something. I don't know.
Did you just say Hulkin?
Hulkin. I thought everybody started with Hulkin.
We did. Hulkin.
Hey, we had a great text come in while we were kind of taking that break there. Said, I'm appreciative of the young people who coach the flag football teams. I think that speaks tremendously for them wanting to give back to our youth. They're competitive, but they make it fun and show great sportsmanship. Well done, YMCA. DJ, and I know it's directed at you, so any great moments that stand out to you in regards to the flag football?
There are many, but I want to hit on the first part of the text first, and I completely understand that many times it does not look like planning has taken place when it comes to programming at the YMCA. I can assure you that it has at length. Now, at go time,
it's controlled chaos.
It's what you're saying. At the best. At best, it's controlled chaos, but there has been planning.
We understand that. We deal with that on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Flag football is the one season we have where the youth, primarily the males in this case and the girls on the volleyball side of it, where their schedules will allow them to be actively involved in terms of mentors. So several years ago, we decided that was going to be our season where we were going to get them to kind of give back a little bit, like Coach Dickey talked about. They had been, every one of them have participated in the programs. We thought it'd be good to get them to come back and see it from the other side of it and hope that it would capture a handful of them going into adulthood. They would continue to volunteer. We were trying to promote volunteerism,
sure,
whether it's on the chamber board or whatever it is. It takes volunteers
That's right.
to have the extra things that we have. Well, anyway, there's been some, I think for the most part, it's been an overwhelming success. There are some people, you're never going to please everybody. There's some people that wish we did it a different way. But I can tell you this, and I've spent the majority of my life at recreational fields. The healthiest sport we have at the Bruton area YMCA is flag football. If you will just walk out there and close your eyes, it sounds like a recreational park should. There's a lot of laughing. There's a lot of enjoyment. There's nobody getting berated. There's nobody, being overly disciplined. Those kids, the young kids, the participants, love those high school boys. I mean, love them.
So let me stop. So what you're saying is you don't have a lot of parents living through their kids on the flag football field.
Not on the flag football. Not on the flag football.
But that's the only field you can say that about. Is that correct?
I'll just say we have issues in the other programs. The fewest headaches we have is in flag football.
Well, I was
Point
just trying
blank
to,
and period.
I was just trying to read between the lines of what you were saying here.
There are fewer headaches in flag football, period. Period. And that's without a doubt.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. In flag football, the single greatest football game in Municipal Stadium. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a bunch of them. Have had a real good seat for most of them. The single best football game in Municipal Stadium was in flag football. I can't remember the name of the teams. We used pro teams. I do remember the coaches involved. It was Jake Nager, Brooks Brown. I want to say Charlie and Johnson was out there. Austin Holmes, Trent Miller, I think, was coaching the team. Tim McDonald, I think, was one of the coaches. 3 or 4 of them coaching each team. And I want to say it was a double or triple overtime thriller, one on a Hail Mary. But it was, you can take the 69 champs and you can take the 84 champs that we had in here a couple of weeks ago, and at best, they've played the second best game ever up there.
You mean the catch doesn't hold a candle to this?
No.
Wait a minute. DJ,
Hey,
stop.
And you can ask the 17 people that saw it.
Wait a minute. Now, you telling me that the catch doesn't even belong even in a tight second to this?
It's not a tight second. No, at best, it's a distant second.
Wow.
At best, it's a distant second, and I'm not sure it's a top 5.
Teaching Randolph technique. You're telling me that's not even a distant top 5, not even a contender. Spending the night with Dwayne Hammock all night long. Eric Cole, Michael Grimes, Dwayne Hammock.
I'm going to stand by my original statement. The best game in the history of Municipal Stadium was a flag football game through the YMCA League. That's one of the great things about it. We'd play our regular season games over across the street at the Y.
Right.
When we have our little tournament end of the year, Coach Riggs, and I'm hoping Coach Thomas allow us to turn the lights in the stadium and the kids go out there. It's really a big deal. It's pretty neat. When you have a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid that gets to go there and play on the field where the big boys play, they get a lot out of it. It's
and
awesome.
You being the historian of sports, Bruton sports, youth sports, as you are, I would say you're probably you're going to be right more than wrong on this. I'm sure.
I'm just telling you, it was an unbelievable game.
Better than Jason Madden running around in the end zone. Well, that didn't happen at Municipal Stadium.
That didn't happen at Municipal Stadium.
That happened at Buddy Taylor.
That's why I can say it with such confidence, because that play took place at Buddy Taylor.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was I want to say
that game, we could do a whole show on that game.
Jake Nader's team was, I think he was the head coach, and I apologize if I'm not correct in that. They were down 2 touchdowns at half. We play 6 or 8 minute quarters. The clock runs nonstop. It did not look good for a long time, and they got it into overtime and won the thing. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was cold.
And you said all 17 people went crazy.
All 17 people stormed the field. I mean, it was unbelievable. Good stuff. But I just on the heels of that, recreation is such a big part of what we do here. Whether it's through the youth sports, the school sports. I just want everybody to make sure that we keep it healthy. We don't want to be on CNN for the wrong reason. I got hit this year at the ballpark.
I remember you telling me that.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
First, what, in the first week?
It was that we had opening day on a Saturday. It was that following Monday night, the first official week. I'm over there working on my 3rd hot dog, minding my own business. Barbecue potato chips.
Stadium dog,
minding my own business, and here we go. 2 moms.
Wow.
And tried to get between them, back of the head. Took a sword shot in the back of the head.
And we talked.
I didn't sign up for that.
We talked about this earlier in the week. I think we're hearkening back to the South Monroe days. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, when the National Guard needs to be put on standby. Seriously, I mean, it's getting too extreme in some cases. Not necessarily here for those that are involved, for those that are there. We need to make sure it stays that way. I can tell you this, and this is one other thing I've learned in 24 years of doing it. This is on the baseball side of it. When the umpire calls you out,
you're out.
You're out. You're out.
Bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
You're done.
You may not like it. You may not agree with it, but you're out nonetheless.
What did you tell me that Catfish would say to you out there? Midfield.
Well, I don't. He wasn't happy that I was showing, in his mind, a little favoritism. I was an umpire. I was showing a little favoritism in Catfish's mind, and I didn't see it that way. I was just supporting whatever young person was having success at the time. But Catfish at 9 years old didn't like it, and he let me know it in so many words.
He didn't like your call.
I didn't know they talked like that in Kigo.
Got another text in, DJ. Let's see what this is. What's your advice to parents when the cross the creek rivalry comes to the Y Park, because it's still Miller-Neal in Little League?
It shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. Those nights are a little more
contentious,
a little more antsy. Yeah. Usually on those nights, I've had a conversation with the chief of police and made sure that we have somebody down there just walking through the park.
So you're an advocate of it not being of the both leagues joining. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they have their own separate league,
right?
Just to give you some different looks, so you don't have to play the same team over and over again. Like for this instance, on the 9 and 10-year-olds, we had 4 teams. They had 3.
Okay.
So we would play each other a couple of times, just so you're not sitting there playing the same bunch of Johnnies and Joes every Tuesday and Thursday. So we get together and play, and those nights are usually a little more of a challenge than the other nights, to be honest with you.
So you're saying the Miller-Neal rivalry is still healthy.
It is, but that's not Miller-Neal. Those are kids just playing baseball.
That's a great point though.
Yep.
You just made a great point. And that should be the bottom line to all of that, is it's just kids playing baseball.
You would be shocked and Coach Dickey and I have talked about this many times, you would be shocked how many kids don't know they're not having a good time until their parents tell them. I mean, I'm telling you, if we would all just go up the hill and let them go, we'd get a big kick out of watching them play.
Does everybody still get a trophy?
No.
So the winners get a trophy. That's it.
We don't even give the winners a trophy.
They just know they were first place.
Yeah, I think that ultimately your picture probably ends up in the paper for being the first place team. But no, it's that's one of the misconceptions about the YMCA is everybody wins. Everybody
they don't do that.
There's nothing further from the truth. I can tell you what, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox here. And I've kind of put this over on the school side of it. I can tell you where everybody does get a trophy is at the T.R. Miller Sports Banquet. My son is a freshman, lettered in varsity football. How many plays he played? About 6.
I don't know how many plays he played, but I know what he made on his. Was it algebra?
Yeah,
I know what he made on his algebra.
Hypothetically, yeah. But I mean, so you talk about who's giving out the trophies around here? It's not the YMCA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm glad you cleared that up.
For some reason, we have shifted away from making these kids earn their way. And you get there to sports bank and say, well, it's not fair that Johnny participated for 4 months and then get recognized. Well, tell Johnny to go get better. Go earn him one.
Yeah.
Go earn him one.
Yeah. I mean,
Randolph Harris earned his.
Yeah. He was
and anybody that lined up across from him, he earned his.
They earned theirs too.
I guarantee you.
Yeah. He was taught technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened down there when the lights went off, DJ? Back in those days.
I don't want to talk about it.
I can tell you this. If you turned around and called somebody a bully back in those days, it would not go over well for you. I do realize society has changed and, things are different now. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, I could have just imagined turning around to Dwayne and saying.
Toughest guy I went to school with was Lance Thorne. Because he took it every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Well, I'll tell you what, great text questions in tonight for sure.
I need to send a shout out to one of my buddies if I can.
Send it out.
Former T.R. Miller coach and a personal friend of mine, Juan Johnson, has this year taken a job at Hewitt-Trussville.
That's right.
They're going to be in action tomorrow with Hoover. Little 7-on-7 football camp preseason look there for the Huskies from Hewitt-Trussville. He sent me a video of the stadium, and this blows my mind. He sent me a video of Hewitt-Trussville Stadium, $23 million. That's 7A. $23 million for the facility.
Wow. In Alabama.
I guess it's an arms race in terms of facilities in 7A. Hoover, obviously, I think they kind of speak for themselves, but $23 million. But wish Coach Johnson well with his Huskies.
Wish him the best. That's right.
We actually have another Bruton connection on the team, and I think I was talking to you about him earlier.
You did.
McElwain.
That's right.
What was Lee McElwain's son? His oldest son has signed a scholarship with Stanford last year out of Hewitt-Trussville.
D1.
Not Samford.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with Samford.
No.
This is a Stanford Cardinal out on the left coast.
Yes.
His younger son is going to be a junior this year. He's going to be D1 also with multiple offers. Yeah. He's a fullback, tight end, H-back type guy. And Juan said he's an impressive athlete as well. So
Lee was a year older than I was.
A year older than you, yeah. He was
good guy.
So Lee McElwain's kids doing
the deal,
doing big things at Hewitt-Trussville.
Yeah, Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford.
That's pretty strong right there.
You don't make 39s and get in Stanford.
No, no, you don't.
Hypothetically.
Let's shift gears a little bit here, DJ. We got about, I don't know, the clock says about 4 or 5 minutes to the top of the hour here, as they would say in radio world. But
going away.
It is. That's what I was told. That's what I've been telling people. Man, you talk about the local politics, the political races are heating up here in the Bruton area. You touched on a little earlier that Frank Nolte, in the paper earlier today, formally announcing his. Of course, Frank was in on the bottom line here several weeks back. We kind of already had an idea that he was, going to run, and I think everybody did. I remember seeing the first Nolte sign down at the rodeo this past year. But a lot of races going to be. Seem like it might be a little different this year than than years past, just because of some of the people in the races, and seems like it's going to be a lot, I guess, a more healthier debate than what we've heard in years past.
That's the way it should be. It takes people being involved. It takes people wanting to take ownership. There's nothing wrong with healthy debate. We've said it many times here. There's nothing wrong with throwing your name in the hat. We can only hope there's a big voter turnout when that day comes. But I'm excited about the number of people that are getting involved and wanting to.
And I want to
take
say
a shot at it.
I want to say this: the door's open at Studio B.
We already have several that are lined up to come.
Yeah,
in the weeks to, it's going to be a hot summer at Studio B.
The door is open.
And we have commitments from 3 that are already coming
from any candidate running.
Yeah,
for any office in our community, you are more than welcome to come on. As a matter of fact, we would like to get together a somewhat of a debate later on in the summer.
We're going to
and have where people can fire in questions maybe the week before, and we could get us some good questions and have for the candidates and talk about the issues that are on people's minds and have more than just a cup of coffee and sit around and talk about it.
And we talked about, when we've talked about the municipal races, obviously, but there's some county elections going also. Eric Cole is going to be running against Jeff White.
That's right.
In a race. Dave Jordan and Jim Hart are going to be
that's right.
pitted against each other in another judge's race. So it's going to be a lot of good qualified people throwing their name in the hat. And
a lot of good people.
Yeah,
a lot of really good people out there. A lot of good choices. I like you said, we hope for a big voter turnout, because I'll tell you what, we've seen races in years past where, what was it, 8 votes separated the winners and the losers.
Yeah.
So, remember, every vote counts.
Every one of them. If you're not registered to vote, get registered. If you need to update your information, if you've moved since the last time we voted, make sure the Board of Registrars has your current address so you can vote in the appropriate races. One thing to be terrible if you show up to vote and you've changed addresses and all of a sudden you're out. I think you have to have it done 6 weeks.
I think so.
I think it's 6 weeks in advance, or maybe it's 60 days, whatever it is.
When is the qualifying day? Is it
early July? I think is when it starts and stops. Maybe
but at some point that's it. So we'll know. We'll know in the next couple of weeks.
About mid-July, I think they shut it down, and all of a sudden, here's your field to choose from. And
so maybe the end of July,
we'll start getting them in.
We could have the bottom line, the first ever bottom line local municipal, or say local, whatever, community debate.
Sure.
What better way to kind of let everybody throw out what their vision or visions are for their respective districts, if it's a city council race or I don't really know I wouldn't know what kind of questions to ask a judge. I don't know what a judge can expand on or what they can. I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue.
I think when you get into some of those, I mean, obviously we could come up with some, but I think a lot of it, or for my personal opinion anyway, is I want to know what their motives are for running. Is it really as a true public servant? Because and I think that goes back to volunteerism. To me, it's hard to see somebody that wants to serve the public that's never volunteered a second of their time ever. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's one of the things that's important as a community is we elect these people to go make decisions, to create policy, to do the different things. We're not asking them to be up under our thumb, so to speak. You can't work like that. But they do need to realize who puts them there every 4 years.
And you brought up a great point there. I don't know that we've seen this much change in Bruton, Alabama, as far as our local, not just political climate, but local climate as we have in a very long time. Let me look at the...
in our lifetime, it hadn't happened.
Right. I mean, we've got new football coaches. We've got new principals. We've got new superintendents. We've got new...
School board.
I was going to say, school board member, congratulations. I think we need to... Ann Peach was nominated to the school board here recently on at one of the city council meetings. Again, that's all about volunteering for your community and wanting to do for your community, that kind of thing, and making the community better. And it's what you've talked about since day one is that, apathy, and here are people that are making a difference. Bart Till, a new school board member. I think with as much change as has already taken place, who knows what's going to happen with this election?
Well, one of the things that I'm most excited about, and I think the appointments of Bart and Ann speak for themselves. Those are home run appointments. But I was so impressed with the number of people who were willing to be considered for it. I mean, we had very strong fields in both cases. People said, "Hey, I'll tell you what, if you're conducting interviews or whatnot, I'd like to be considered." And there was some mighty fine people who didn't make it this time. But the fact that many people now are starting to step up and raise their hand and want to be involved and take some ownership, it's an exciting time to be in Bruton.
It is, and I'll tell you what, it's only going to make our community better, stronger, and better for our children.
Absolutely.
Growing up and coming up here in town, and I'm just excited to see how this shapes up over the summer, and to see moving on into the fall how things go. And we got a big national election coming up this year. With the presidential election coming up, and you've got different sides of the coin on that, and people. Election year is always crazy, and a lot of choices to be made. But locally, I'm anxious to see what happens. I think there's a lot of good people that have threw their name in the hats so far, and I think I don't think we mentioned one, which is I don't know what district Coach Cotton's is, but Lawrence Weaver. I don't think we mentioned Lawrence earlier when we were talking about. But I've heard. I don't know that I haven't. So I haven't seen a sign. Somebody had told me that at somewhere in the last week or two that he was running.
That's the only candidate I think I've heard of. I think that's District 2, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is too.
One?
Yes, yeah. Pat Poole's District 1.
It'll be interesting to see who comes out. But you talk about apathy and you talk about taking ownership. When look at the state of Alabama political landscape.
Oh,
when all of a sudden people turn away or don't pay attention, I mean, are we not the laughing stock of the country?
It gets crazy.
You talk about our governor.
We got a governor flying his wallet down to Baldwin County to because he needed his wallet.
The Speaker of the House, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I mean, all three of them are facing legal battles individually, and that's what happens when you don't pay attention.
It's just a debacle. But I'm looking forward to having the candidates in, and listen, like I said, if you've been thinking about wanting to throw your name in the hat, you want to come in and sit down and talk with us or call in, whatever, feel free to do so. The door's always open, the mic's always on, and we always want to get to what do we say, DJ? We're always hunting that bottom line.
Going to get to that bottom line.
Yeah, if we don't do anything else, and
I also want to continue to get people to visit the website, the Facebook page, whatever your form of staying in contact with us is, because we have some pretty big news that's going to be breaking here the next couple of weeks on a couple of different fronts. So make sure you continue to visit the Bottom Line Facebook page and webpage.
That's right, and of course you can still download us on iTunes, bottomlineshow.net, of course Facebook, YouTube. You can find us a lot of different places. I want to touch on something real quick before we get out of here, DJ, and to say congratulations to our county, our local people for showing up like they did over there in Frisco City.
Wow.
I think
450, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, did he say about 450 applicants?
I think they were hoping to get about 300 top end. They ended up with 450, and I think they're still taking applications here at the employment center. So I
think that showed that company that we got people out there looking for jobs and wanting good paying jobs, and maybe that might overflow over to this end of the county some, because we in an election year, I think you said it one time, we always hear in industrial development, and I say in election year, you hear it all the time. It's not just an election year, but 450 plus, that's strong.
That's strong, and now we hope, the hope is that they will now go on to the next phase in terms of making that wish a reality. And just what a big shot in the arm it would be for all of us if they can get that thing open over in Frisco City.
DJ, enjoyed it. Want to thank Stephen Dickey for coming in and obviously demonstrating why he was Citizen of the Year for the year of Chamber. Was 2016. Yep. Just a great guy. Does a great service for our community on a daily basis. Just a rock star among a lot of people. That's for sure. Again, it's going to be a hot summer. It's already been hot. and I mean real hot.
It's going to be a hot summer.
It's going to be a hot summer. The bottom line is going mobile. We are getting ready to take this show on the road. So get ready to come out and catch us somewhere soon. We're looking forward to doing that. I know I'm looking forward to doing that.
Could be poolside at Fort Fleming. He's offered.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm not sure that wouldn't be a good idea. And I don't know how many people want to see me and you sitting up in bathing suits laid up doing this show. But at any rate, again, we appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching. Until next week, what do you have to say about it, DJ?
That's the bottom line.
Stay classy, Bruton.
The Bottom Line was brought to you by Bossman Productions. The views expressed by call-in guest or in-studio guest are not necessarily those of The Bottom Line, the host, Bossman Productions, other advertisers, or any affiliate of The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line is for entertainment purposes only.